The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
Hello! Welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. We're glad to have you stop by. We'd also like to take this time to invite you to share your encounter. You can send your stories to the email bfrealencounters@mail.com, where we will feature your story with all of the respect that it deserves. So send your stories in, bfrealencounters@mail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and your great stories soon. Hello everybody, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. This is your host, Chris. Want to thank everybody for clicking on this video, all of our past viewers and all of our new viewers alike. Welcome to one of the safe places to share your encounters with the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe, Wendigo, forest giants, hairy man, tall man, whatever names that you have come to know them by. We here at Bigfoot Real Encounters will take you seriously. You will be believed, you will not be ridiculed. It is a safe place to unburden those encounters, get it off your chest, finally come out with it. Now's the time. It is more accepted now than ever before in history because of the internet, television shows. People actually want to hear these encounters. Your eyewitness encounter, which may have been devastating for you, needs to be told. You need to tell it. We need to hear it because of the information that you know can help others. It can help you by expressing it. It can help us by preparing us with knowledge. So if we come across one of these beings in the forest or in a neighborhood, which they do like to visit and watch us, we will have less of an impact on us, less of a chance of PTSD symptoms. So share your encounters. Send them in to bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your encounter will be read word for word other than cuss words. We will not leave out details. The details are important. They give us a complete picture of what is going on, what these beings are like, and we actually look for and dig for additional details that have not been heard before, like facial expressions, like did it smile, did it grimace, was it angry, was it amused? All these different type of things are very, very important to giving us a more complete picture as to what these people are like. Okay? So send us in your encounters, bfrealencounters@mail.com. If you would like to discuss your encounter with other people who've had encounters, there is a Facebook page. It's a private group, Bigfoot Anonymous. I will not use anything on that page for this YouTube channel. It will stay on that page. You can hook up with people who've had experiences or possibly have ongoing experiences. Maybe come up with solutions for each other. That's what it's there for. Okay, check it out. Bigfoot Anonymous on Facebook. It's a private group. You have to join to be able to see what's going on that page. So today we're going to continue state by state. We're going to look into the state of Iowa. We have an eyewitness encounter here from back in 2001 in April, Humboldt County, Iowa. And this one reads, me and 5 friends were walking in the woods at night on April 2nd of this year, and we saw something pretty big and real thick and furry crouching behind a bush that was in between 2 trees. He had his hands on a tree and poked up to look at us. We had a video camera with us at the time, but it does not show the creature. The reason we had the camera with us was because all the dogs in our town were going crazy the last few days, and we had heard odd noises coming from down in these woods, which we were right alongside the Des Moines River. We got extremely scared at the sight of this thing and took off running right after we flipped the camera light on to try to get it on tape. The next morning, we went down to the same spot to try to find some evidence. We found nothing real important there except some broken twigs and whatnot. However, a little ways away, we found a large femur bone, either from a cow or a human. It was much too big to be a deer and wasn't a horse. This led us to dig around, then we found 22 more bones. We also noticed a bunch of fur around that area, like rabbit or something. About a week later, we went back during the day because we were scared of night and found a deer head with its rear bit completely off, shredded. We still have these bones and a movie. We reported it to the police. They said to give them the movie and bones. I was wondering if this would be the right thing to do. I would be glad to show any skeptics out there the tape and bones, and if you come soon enough, the deer, but I imagine it will rot soon. Well, if you find a bone in the woods that you think could be a human femur, you must report that to the police. Okay, folks? Don't ever fool around with anything like that, because it could be something much, much worse than a Bigfoot. It could be a human. And that's quite dangerous. There could be a crime, could be somebody missing. Don't fool around with stuff like that. Don't take anything like that on yourself, okay? This is not something to fool around with. If this is your encounter and you're listening to me, turning stuff over to the police, that could be evidence in an investigation. You must do it. You could be charged with interfering with a police investigation. Okay? So, everybody take note of this one here. And when they flipped the light on that camera and saw it and they took off running, that was probably the best thing they ever did. They were in a kill site. And if there was fur and then other bones and stuff around, that sounds like it was a spot where that being has his dinner. And it might not be a good thing to drop in on somebody unannounced for dinner, if you know what I mean. That's just a little bit of advice for those of you who are out and come across something like this. And of course, before we go to the next story, I would like to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. Do click the bell notification icon, which will notify you when another video from this channel is uploaded. Also, check out the links in the description below. We've got Jeffrey Lilly's books linked down below to their spot on Amazon. Blessed and Cursed. It has a couple of Jeffrey Lilly's stories from his childhood on. Very good stories. I've read them. And very good information in those. Jeff's other book, Bigfoot and Stellar Jay's River Day, it's for children. Very good. Story time for children. It can help you introduce to the young folks in your life the reality of these beings on this earth, and start to introduce it to them that they are out there, just like you would introduce them to them about bears or lions and tigers or other animals that could possibly be dangerous, and what to expect if you come across them, how to behave, etc., and so on. That way it becomes part of their life, and they don't have their lives wrecked by walking into one of them someday. Also, do check out Bigfoot Anonymous. I've already mentioned that. Just want to remind you again on that one. Let's take a look and see if we have some other encounters here. We have one here from the year 2000 in Polk County, Iowa. And this says here it's on a bike trail, goes between Birdland Marina and South End and Big Creek on the north end, between Euclid Avenue and Birdland Marina, within the city limits of Des Moines. Wow, folks. You don't have to go to the wilderness to have an encounter with the big guy. Here comes to you, okay? This is one reason why I chose this one. It's within the city limits of Des Moines, Iowa. These things like to come to us. So if you think that you may never have an encounter with Bigfoot, think again. This one reads, I heard the deer coming toward me over to my left. I was going down to the trail, and the deer was coming in the opposite direction about 100 feet over to my left. He kept looking over his right shoulder at something. I wondered what he was looking at, and I lifted my head a little, and that's when I saw the thing. At first I thought it was a human being. I mean, it had a head, shoulders, arms and legs, chest. It saw me at a distance of about 300 feet, and when it saw me, it kinda hunkered down. I've seen deer do the same sort of thing when they're out preparing to take flight. After hunkering down, it made a 90-degree turn and leaped and bounded through the air. Both feet were off the ground. It made another 90-degree left turn and disappeared among the trees. I could see the blackness disappearing behind and among the trees as it left. The total viewing time was no more than 3 seconds. It left in a big hurry. It was tall, about 6 feet or a little taller, black, slim, and quick. I mean, it was quicker than a deer. Imagine an Olympic-class sprinter cooking off a 100-yard dash. Multiply that quickness by a factor of 2 or 3. It was incredibly quick, quicker than a deer. I was not the only one to see this thing. A deer saw it, and it saw it first. That deer was in a big hurry to leave the area. This is not the first time that I have heard the detail of these things taking a big bounding leap and jumping and disappearing into another direction. I've heard on other channels people sending in encounters where they have seen them do that and jump over like a 12-foot chain link fence. That's quite an interesting detail, and like I've said on other encounters, it's another detail that we can add to the overall picture of what we are discovering about these creatures. What they're like, what they do, how they react, all these things, what they're capable of. I mean, this thing leaped and bounded with both feet off the ground. It just took off. And that is really incredible, actually, to think about that. It wasn't scary or anything from what we're reading here. And it just took off as soon as I saw the person inside the city limits. Isn't that something, folks? So you do have the opportunity of having a Bigfoot encounter. Never count that out. I've heard of many encounters of people coming across them digging in the garbage dumpster divers. And more than a half a dozen stories I've heard talking about that detail. Whether they're looking around, digging around in there. I don't know if it's for food scraps or other items. And then I've also heard of people coming across small teepee structures in the forest, maybe about 1.5 to 2 foot tall. And inside those teepee structures are items that would be something from humanity, like a child's ball, or I think one was a toothpaste tube, which was mostly spent. You know, things like these little articles, and they were found inside a small teepee structure with the footprints around it. So there wasn't much question as to what had put it there. But they're going through our stuff, you know, and they're watching us. And sometimes they'll come up to the window and peek right in at you, scare the living tar right out of you. But so you need to know about them. You need to know that they will do these things. And sure, you're going to get quite startled when you first see them. But having heard some of these eyewitness accounts, after being startled for a few seconds, you're going to say, oh, I know what that is. And it will lessen the impact on you. All right, folks, moving along, we have Lee County, Iowa here. Looks like in the fall of 2006. This one reads, I'm 44 years old. My husband and I were driving home after a Thanksgiving visit with my family at my mother's farm in southeast Iowa near the Missouri border. After leaving the driveway, I noticed something black on all fours to the right of the road along the tree line in the long grassy field. My first reaction was that it was a dog, but I noticed that it had no tail or discernible ears. So my next thought was, is it a bear? It was moving the same direction we were, so as it was moving, I was watching it. It wasn't moving very fast, just like a slow lope or trot. I was very confused because it didn't look like a bear or a dog, so my mind was desperately trying to identify it. It finally turned its head toward me, and I noticed that the hair around the face sort of framed it. Although I still could not see a snout like a dog, I immediately thought of a Pomeranian type dog that might have hair around its face, and a face that might be flatter than a normal dog. I said out loud, "What is that?" And after it turns its head toward me, I said, "That's the ugliest dog I have ever seen." However, since the sighting, I've been continually confused about what it was I saw. So many things did not fit in my mind of a dog's characteristics. At first I noticed the lack of a tail and then no ears, but then in recalling the sighting, I also couldn't figure out why the legs of the dog were so thick, which is when I thought of a bear. But again, no snout sticking out. And also I could not see its eyes, so my impression is that they were very deep set and close together. After reading the stories on this site and seeing the description of Bigfoot, I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. I've not been back to the area where it was to measure exactly how big it might have been. However, my impression was that it was a juvenile, perhaps 4 to 5 feet in body length, maybe 200 pounds. I'm only guessing, maybe 6-7 feet stretched out head to toe. The main reason I now think that I know what it is the fact that I could not see a face. The face was completely black and I could see no snout or prominent eyes. When seeing the hair that frames the face of the Bigfoot pictures I've seen, it seems to fit with what I saw, and it seems to make more sense in my mind than the description of any other animal. I have frequently spent time at this farm, and it is full of white-tailed deer and farm crops. I've never heard any strange sounds or seen tracks or smelled anything strange. My mother did say that one year something ate all the apples off her trees, 2 of them. She thought it was a deer that is frequently seen on the property. Also, I grew up on another farm in the same county along the Mississippi River and spent many, many hours in the forest on our 100-acre horse farm from 1969 to 1977. I often had to hike into the forest to look for my pony. I also enjoyed hiking and spent time just walking the trails. I have never seen anything like this all the time I was growing up. The only thing strange that ever happened on that farm was that twice, when I was riding my pony in the field on the south side of our timber, where I did not hike, I heard what sounded like a woman screaming, and a separate incident of a baby crying. I told my parents, and they assured me that it was likely a bobcat. Well, at least the parents did pay some attention and came up with something. It could have been a bobcat, and it might have been a bobcat. You never know, but the parents did listen and did come up with something. We all know bobcats can be dangerous. So, kudos to the parents on this one. Most of the time when you tell folks about something like this, they're like, oh, it's your imagination, get out of my hair, go out and play. And that's the wrong thing to do. These guys did all right. Glad to hear it. So, folks, what we have learned from these encounters today is that you don't have to go miles into the wilderness to have a Bigfoot encounter. They generally come to us. They're interested. They watch us. They dig through our trash. They like to sometimes play games, amuse themselves with us. And you don't have to whack on a tree and scream into the darkness to have an encounter. All right. Once again, like, share, subscribe. Check out the links in the description below. Get Jeffrey Lilly's books. They're good ones. Also, consider joining Bigfoot Anonymous if you've had an encounter. We still have a few weeks of good weather left when a lot of us will be out hiking, horseback riding, camping, picnicking, fishing, and shortly we'll be into the hunting season. Not as many people do that as the other things I mentioned, but when you're doing these things, canoeing also, do keep an eye on the tree line to see what might be keeping an eye on you. We'll see you in the next one. Once again, another great story. Thanks for tuning in. Please share your encounter. Email us, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your story is very important. We will treat it with the respect that it deserves. Also, be sure to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks once again. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Watch out for our next video. Maybe we'll feature yours. Have a great day.